What is going on, everyone? This is Mekkah, and today I want to talk to you about WikiHow, specifically the page How to Be Better in Fire Emblem 7. I've been sent this page a couple of times, sent again this morning, so that would remind me I wanted to make a video about it. And on one hand, I want to make fun of this page really badly because some parts of it are really clumsily done and it's got a lot of pitfalls and stuff on it. On the other hand, it has some good advice, and the WikiHow page is much better than the Fire Emblem Wiki. Like, this whole website is just much more adorable, much more user-friendly, much better looking than the Fire Emblem Wiki. I read through the WikiHow about page actually for a while, and it's not actually that bad. Like, for example, like what I'm seeing right here, let me see if you guys can see it too. Yeah, you can. If it's like about medical advice, they actually have an actual doctor reviewing them and have like a check mark if they did that. So they're much more focused on actually fact checking. It's not just relying on hearsay and stuff. It's for profit. It's a mix of for profit and non-profit. But the guy is very explicit about not giving into any kind of corporate thing. They don't want donations. So this site is not about making money. This site is actually about getting information out there. So the polar opposite of the Fire Emblem Wiki, and that's why it deserves your support. And that's why after watching this video, if you feel like it, you should go over and help fix it up. I would do that, but I think it's more effective if I crowdsource it like this than if I just go in there and make all the edits myself. And that way it'll also be more like a wiki and less like, hey, this is what I think the page should look like. It will be more like a collaborative effort like a wiki. And also, I just rather spend my time making videos and entertainment than editing a wiki. Sorry, but if you like making wikis better, then this is a good place to focus your efforts on. So, how to be better in Fire Emblem 7. It's got a lot of bad advice, I'm not gonna lie. It's also got some good advice, so let's make it the best we can. First of all, there's this info blurb right here. Fire Emblem 7 is the first US released copy. The main characters are Linda's, Hector, and Eliwood. Kind of short, but whatever. And then there's got like it's got a bunch of like random tips, good tips. Don't get me wrong. Some of the tips are actually good. For example, this first one here is check where the enemy units can go. No matter where you are, this will always be helpful. Make sure your archer and healer units are protected. Good advice. My problem with this page, my main problem, is this super distracting image up top. You'd think these images should be relevant to the tip at hand, because to illustrate, you know, a picture says more than 1,000 words is what they say. But this picture talks about 1,000 different words, because there is no enemy unit on this picture. There is no enemy range. You'd think there should be an image here of, I don't know, some enemy archer and where he can go, where he can attack, and then you showed it like you're keeping Ninian and Priscilla and friends safe. But instead, it's Florina's attacking range. That's just kind of weird. And then, to make matters worse, there's like this huge distracting red arrow that points you to... I guess it's supposed to be like either pointed at Canas or at Florina's range, both of which doesn't make much sense. We need better images for this article. Like, the red arrow is just... It adds nothing. It's just the whole image is just garbage. The tip is good, though. You should always check where enemy units can go. New players, especially when they go to from Phoenix or casual mode to classic mode, this is their main source of frustration, is just randomly getting killed by enemies, and it just happens because they're not focused on where the enemies can actually go. Number 2, after you get them, always bring a staff user. Nobody likes the sleep staff. Note that this is the same image, pretty much the same turn, but the arrow is instead pointing at, I think, like a cavalier. I'm gonna assume it's Sane because every new player uses Sane, and he's poisoned. I guess the point is that he should be restored, but the description, the tip is like about the sleep staff and not even about the fact that the units can be damaged or anything. That could be worded a lot better. There could be a more relevant image. I can guess what they mean here, but it's lacking a lot. Number 3, make sure your characters have weapons with them. Give your main characters an unused spare weapon just in case. Sure, not a bad idea. You don't want to run out of weapons. I gotta give the arrow credit here. It's almost pointing at an actual weapon in Eliwood's hand, but it should probably be pointed at this rapier instead. Like this one, or maybe an inventory or something. I don't know why it's pointing at Eliwood, and he's not even fighting anything. He's just being danced for by Ninian. Number 4, make sensible use of Marcus. Don't assume he's a typical Jagan. New player has no idea what a Jagan is. Or they might, but like, this is not something you can tell a first-time player when they don't know anything at all. You should probably either explain that he's a Jagan of some kind, but it's actually a good tip to tell players, like, don't be afraid to use Marcus when things get tough. Just don't use him to solo the entire chapter. And then the picture I don't even have to say anything about this. The only relevance here is that the cursor is pointing at yes, which is the first word that comes to mind when you're using Marcus. You're like, yes, Marcus, but I don't know why we have an arena picture here. It's also like cropped very poorly. Number 5, take a unit's growth into account when raising them. Don't expect Dorcas to be a speed demon. This could do with a little bit about bases, because, you know, growths aren't everything. And again, why are we pointing at Canas? I feel like this is, at this point, it's just random images of someone who played New Resolve. It's like if someone had like a photo camera and they were playing FE7, they just randomly clicked the button at some random times, and then some other kid was asked, hey, here we go, there's this red arrow, where do you want to put it? And the kid just goes, yeah, I'm just gonna put it here. It's just completely random. Send an Iron Sword to Mer in this. Take a unit's joining time and starting stat into account. Can Nino really catch up 20 levels in 5 chapters on Hector hard mode? No Nino. Like, no Nino in the picture. It's actually not a bad tip. It's actually good. Not great for a first timer, because just taking it into account is like, it's like a couple steps ahead of where a beginner usually is, but I get where they're going. Okay, next tip. Promoting at level 20 may be nice and offers the best stats. However, promoting units early can really help out, especially in Hector hard mode. I don't know why the arrow is pointing at an unpromoted unit, but good tip. Like, that's a pretty balanced way of saying it. I would probably say you should promote whenever you feel like it. That's probably a good tip. Like, whenever you feel like you want to promote, you should promote. Number 8. Raising your lords is not a bad idea. They are a force for some chapters. I've gone in depth on this like a couple of times, especially when it comes to someone like Lin. I probably overall would go with, I would recommend new players, they raise their lord. Yeah, once you're replaying the game and you know like what chapters they will be forced in and how you can evade them, then maybe you don't have to use your lords. But for first timers, I would actually recommend using your lords because, for example, in FE9, you actually have a much easier time if you actually train Ike. It's not really the case for other games as much, but it's still probably recommendable for newer players to raise their lords. Not all of them actually, they're main lords. So for FE7 for example, I would say you should probably train Eliwood on your first time through, just because he'll be forced, and Lin maybe, Hector definitely, but most people do that by themselves because Hector is so awesome for new players. Number 9, train a thief. This can be handy. While they aren't really for fighting, being able to survive the odd attack whilst looting is nice. This is a tip I disagree with, this one can go. They should bring a thief to a chapter that has treasure to be stolen or taken from chests. But it makes no sense to train a thief for the odd time that they're going to face combat because A, it should be rare, B, just giving them a couple of levels doesn't guarantee that they will survive what they need to survive. Like, someone like Legold, for example, they will usually survive enemy attacks at base level anyway, and like the only way this tip makes sense if an enemy is like exactly borderline on KOing someone, like say Legold has a total of 29 HP in defense. I don't know his numbers off the top of my head, but let's say he does. Then maybe if an enemy with like bolting has like 30 attack or the ballista has 30 attack, then it makes sense to train him a couple levels, but there's no way a new player knows those benchmarks. So I just say don't bother training your thieves, keep them out of combat. That's a much easier way of you doing that. Like, don't train thieves, don't bother, especially in FE7 because Legold is actually durable enough at base level. Okay, new part, EXP. Number 1, be sensible with your EXP distribution. Units get less XP as their level gets higher. I think don't worry about the XP distribution, is better. Just train units is probably a more reasonable tip than this, because this will just make people only raise like their lower level units, and I don't know. I get what they were going for, but this seems like it's more likely to go wrong and make people a lot more neurotic about what units to feed XP to. Just make units of good units and maybe train some low level units if you want to. Number 2, use your XP wisely. Spreading too thinly could cause problems. Using everybody might be tricky. Yeah, this is a good one actually. Pick like, in FE7 your first time you can pick almost as many as you want because the XP gain is ridiculous. So something like pick like 10 to 12 people you want to train is probably a good benchmark. In other games I would recommend less. The less people you train, the easier the game usually becomes, but I think new players, they get enough deployment slots and enough XP to play with like 10 to 12 characters. It really depends. But I agree with the intent of this tip, yeah. Try to let some of your weaker units gain EXP. Higher level units gain less for the same enemy and it may help your EXP rank. I am still finding the red arrows super distracting. I just want to say that, like, I don't want to say this forever, but why are there only pictures of New Resolve in here? There's many more maps in FE7. And it's also pointing at the Thief again, as if he should be one of those weaker units to gain EXP. Because this tip is about making your weaker units gain EXP. It's basically the same tip as number 1 from this section. Helping your EXP rank. This is always a weird tip for people, I think. Like, I know very few people who actually play FE7 with ranks in mind, and I think just generally giving tips with ranks in mind is dumb, because nobody's going to try to S-rank the game on their first try. It's just not possible. It's just not good unless you already know what you're facing. So just saying this will help your rank is not a good tip. Section number 3, weapons. Select weapons according to need. For example, slim weapons are useful for units with low con, but they're generally inferior to iron weapons. Sure. Iron weapons are cheap compared to... let me scroll up a little bit. Iron weapons are cheap means of fighting weaker enemies. In normal mode, some of your stronger units can one round with them. Yeah, even in Hector hard mode, in fact. Sure, that's fine, that's fine. Actually a relevant picture here, because it has like a low con unit in Florina, and a high con unit in an enemy knight and Darley as well, I guess. And the arrow is pointing at them, so good picture. We can keep that one. Actually, fuck it, just have pictures of weapons with their weight in there. Number 2, compare weapon weight to constitution and speed. Lyn is not going to do too well with an iron blade, it will weigh her down. Yeah, sure. Maybe add that some units can afford to lose a couple of points of speed every now and then in order to increase their attack. But generally it's nice to limit being weighed down, especially for new players. That's a very straightforward way of saying it. Number 3, watch out for the weapon and magic triangle. Watch out for weapon and magic triangle. It has a significant effect on hit rates. Yeah, sure, keeping it in mind. Maybe actually have a picture of people who have weapon triangle, maybe instead of 2 lance users, but yeah. Part 4, other items. Healing items can come in handy if there isn't a healer nearby. Well, this dart is on low HP, so I guess so. Yep, that's true. They can come in handy, although vulneraries, they're pretty crappy in the mid and late game. Elixir is nice though, but that's details. Overall, this tip is fine. Number 2, mines and light runes are cool, but you don't get too many. Do they really help that much? This is not a tip. This doesn't help at all. They're cool, but you don't get many. Do they really help that much? I don't know. Why are you asking me? I'm new to Fire Emblem. I'm trying to learn how to play the game. Why are you asking me these kind of questions? This is a silly tip. This one needs to go. Attacking. Part 5, actually. I don't know why they're split into parts like this. This whole page needs like some kind of sensical revamp, I think. Number 1, do the maths. Don't attack a boss with someone if they'll be killed by them on enemy phase. Yeah, good tip. Generally doing math is good. That's pretty much how you get good at Fire Emblem, is you do a lot of math. Oh wait, this part 5 attacking is just this. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Part 6, other betterments. Okay, weird title, but okay. Support conversations. The handy conversations will up the supported unit's stats in battle by a small or large amount depending on the support level. However, if you're playing quickly, the odds are you won't get more than a C in most cases. Sure, I think new players generally won't get supports besides like Eliwood and Hector and Lyn and Florina. That's what happened to me anyway on my first playthrough. I didn't know what the fuck I was looking at. I probably wouldn't even put this in the beginner section, but it might be nice to have a little blurb on what they are. The arena is a useful, albeit risky, way of leveling up. I feel like there was a better picture for this earlier. It's not a bad idea to have a unit far from the action visited before your lords get to the siege point. I guess there's actually no siege map with an arena in FE7, as far as I know. It's like Vargas map, New Resolve, 4-flanked offense, and battle preparations. But like, it's still like a fine tip overall. It just needs rewarding, because there is no siege map with an arena. Wait, there is more! There's more! Check out this community Q&A at the bottom, with the question, should I use Athos? He's a pre-promote and I'm kind of worried that he would waste experience. Someone actually answered this question, but I think it's a troll. I'll read it out anyway, because it's kind of funny. It's like, Athos is an okay unit to have on your team, but I wouldn't really invest too much time in him. As the game goes on, in my opinion, he got a little useless, and I wouldn't use him in some of the final battles unless he's your main. You can hit pretty hard, but only if you invest in him a whole lot. Yeah, this is probably a troll. Thankfully, it has been voted down. There's 0 helpful votes and 11 not helpful votes. So, thank you, whoever filtered this, I guess. It shouldn't be here at all. It's a troll question. And then we can find out how to buy a gun in Florida, how to make a mailing list in Gmail, and how to map your walk at my walk, whatever. This is what I'm gonna look at. Tips, and these tips they range from alright to no, just no. Recommended characters, these are all fine descriptions. You can read them for yourself if you want. It's about Hector, Pent, Ninian and Nils, Oswin, Sane, Raven, and Harkin. I have no problem with any of these characters. The way they're described is as accurate as you would expect from a page aimed at beginners. Like, there's a couple nitpicks I could do, but let's not nitpick the whole thing to death. Then there's another reasonable tip: watch the scenes. Sometimes you can understand things better and help you battle. This is okay. I don't know if this is really relevant in FE7, but sure. And then the game has potential to be reasonably difficult, especially on Hector hard mode. However, compared to the likes of FE5, FE6 hard mode, and the harder difficulties of the DS titles, FE7 should pose a little challenge. This is good. This is fine. Feel free to like keep this on the page here. This is fine. But then we get this bullshit. Don't use pre-promotes. They mostly act as an experience sink. They don't let others get experience. I thought this page was safe. I thought we were fine here. It even recommended using Marcus. He's not your typical Jagan, that kind of stuff. It had that all the way up there, but then it contradicts itself. I guess these tips were written by different people. They are like added as user notes to the page entry or something. I don't know. No, not a good tip. Get rid of this. And then the bottom one is even worse. It's like, don't use promoted units if you have weaker ones to train. For example, don't use level 2 Paladin Kent when you have a level 5 Lord Lyn to train. No. No.